Yes, how are you doing? This is Chantaya King podcast. I am the queen of podcasts. Hey, here's the thing. It's a mental health check. Well, good evening. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. And so what I decided is that when you are operating your business daily, running a family, doing things for your ministry, we have to talk about your emotions and mental health. So this segment, my podcast, will be on mental health check-in. Like Wendy Williams, how you doing? So yes, how are you doing? This is Chantaya King podcast. I am the queen of podcasts. Hey, on Instagram, you're just helping me kind of watch and do my homework. And I'm actually taping my content to load up on my podcast. Queen of Podcasts, Moments with Chantaya King. So you'll be sharing with me different times of my life that I have had to matriculate as an entrepreneur. I have matriculated as a dance studio owner, even having so many ideas of other ventures that I have contended to do. Also actively running entities as a CEO, being a mom, being a wife, having ministry to partake in, and just being a friend, being a sister, being a daughter, being a cousin, being a niece. So all those things. So that's what you'll get on our podcast. But with everything happening in pandemic and in this time, I decided to let's do a check-in. All right, so most cultures have a way of a standard formal greeting. That we are from the United States, that's where I am from and where I reside. Our formal greeting is typically with someone you do not know as close, how are you doing? Okay, that really means that's just like in passing, how are you doing? Sometimes we are not always soliciting a response, honestly. Because how many know oftentimes when you are walking and you say, hello, how you doing? When someone is about to say too many words, you're like, pause, right? Because literally that becomes a formal greeting with someone typically we do not know. Where it becomes more close and intimate is when we say, how are you? That how are you invites you into a different type of space because you really are soliciting with that acquaintance and that person that may be closer to you, their true feelings. What we experienced this week, witnessing one of the beautiful models in our country had some mental health issues that no one at that time knew about, which may have caused death, suicide. And so right now, as we are in this pandemic and dealing with everything with stress, finances, schools, work, jobs, or lack thereof, how are we handling and managing stress? So my self-check-in today is to say we had to find that center place. And so as I was preparing to start this podcast, episode 1 with Chantaya King, queen of podcasts, I just began to kind of flip through the Bible and I came across a familiar scripture, which most of us know, Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes began to go down the roll call of that there is a time and a season for everything. So as we find ourselves right now, believe it or not, it's in Ecclesiastes that says there is a time for no embrace. And then there's a time for gathering, a time to be together. As we find ourselves, we as human beings need touch. We need hugs. We need feel. We need social interaction for true and full brain development. Okay? With this necessity of needing touch, feel, interaction with humankind, it leaves a damper on our personal, inner, emotional development. And so thus we find ourselves sad, depressed, anxious, worried, and we have fear. When we have those emotions that are dissuade or are dissuade, some of the actions that follow those emotions are eating. It may be a habit, whether it's good or negative, overconsumption of alcohol, drugs, overconsumption of TV, overconsumption of sleeping. All of these things can be actions of inner emotions that are going on inside of us. And so when we have self-care and mental health checks, it's so important to know what exactly our bodies are sensing, what our bodies are feeling, and then what actions are we seeing that confirm that. So I have some tools tonight as we continue to walk down this journey. I'm going somewhere. Walk down this journey about this emotional and mental health check-in. Some of the adjectives that we find ourselves with mental health issues or mental health, we'll call them flare-ups: irritability, impatience, zero tolerance for anything, loss of hope, suicidal. So when we have these emotions, we have to have someone who is that closest person to us that may recognize the change. Put some comments in there. When have you known that you were going into a deep, dark hole? Okay. We hear words like, it's a rough day. I'm very emotional. It's a tough day. Things couldn't get worse. Oh, how my day started. Okay? When you have those words and those feelings and thoughts, we have to immediately begin to a few things. Switch our thinking quickly. As soon as a negative thought comes, try your hardest with a positive thought. I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling well, but body respond to what God has designed for my body to be. That's healthy, whole, and vigorous. That's one. Always have an opposition to a negative thought or a negative statement that has actually been said to you, okay? Number two, you want to identify those triggers. What is the thing, the person, or the aggravation that is triggering you? And if you can remove it, remove it. If it is somewhere where it cannot be removed, how do I manage dealing with it? So oftentimes what we have to do is, if your environment does not change, that you begin to pray that you change inside of that environment. Example, if I have a ranting mother in my home or a ranting sibling in my home and we live together, if I still live with them and they still live with me, I can't just typically remove myself, right? That living arrangement is set for a time, and it just may be that moment that I'm aggravated or frustrated. So at that time, I have to do things to, one, speak up, let them know how I'm feeling. And then two, outside of that, maybe you have more quiet time and still away to another part of the room. Maybe you go listen to some music. Maybe you go cook. You just have to remove yourself maybe from the setting with individuals, or take a ride. Whatever that means, it's often that you just need to step away, stay positive in the situation. And oftentimes what happens, you all, we are not expressing how we feel. Put that in the chat. How many times, if you would have expressed how you felt or how something made you feel, that you felt like you would have had a better outcome? What you think? Isn't that right? So make sure that you identify and know how to, if your environment cannot change, how you change your outlook in the environment and make provisions to be positive within that. Next thing, back to number 4, letting someone know when you are not feeling at your best. In our society right now, we have to walk into those vulnerable spaces. We have to be able to know when to get help. That slogan is true. Do not suffer in silence. Number 5, do not suffer in silence. I can attest when there was a time in 2016, and I do feel like some women, especially based on hormones and resets after kids, it's just an awkward time. Your body is trying to get in balance after birthing children. Our bodies go through so many measures when we birth children. When we do this, when hormones are out of balance, when hormones are out of whack, understanding that if you have times where you feel paranoid, you feel afraid, you feel scared, you don't trust anyone, you have to know that that is a time that something is out of balance. That's where you want to consult your physician. Number 6, consult a doctor immediately. Right now in pandemic, yes, appointments are backed up. It's hard to get in. Guess what? There is virtual appointments now with counselors, therapists, psychiatrists. We want to make sure that we all seek that help. Then after you seek professional help, seek a family member or a trusted loved one that you can share. Hey, right now it's tough. I don't know why my mind is thinking that. We have to get vulnerable, you guys. I remember having to apologize to a lot of people. I remember having to, make amends that, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, but right now, I'm off. It's off. Now, mind you, what were some of those things that triggered it? Knowing your triggers. Back to, I think that was number 2 or number 3, knowing your triggers. My trigger, my grandmother had passed away in 2011. And she was that was my closest, who raised me. She did everything for me. I used to say things like, when and if she passed, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to lose my mind. Well, guess what? When you keep affirming and saying the same thing, guess what? Those same things will manifest. A lot of times where we see ourselves before it happens, we see it, we say it, it becomes us. I felt like literally I lost my mind. In grief, in hurt, in anger, which spilled out into later on manifesting itself into where no trust, paranoid. Okay, so I'm telling you from a personal standpoint how to get through it, because I had to get through it. And what did I do? Consulted with medical help. Also talking to family and loved ones, walking into major forgiveness. So that's the 8th thing. Walk in forgiveness. Every trauma, every hurt, every regret, every isolation, rejection, right now, put it on the chat. Say, I forgive it. I forgive them. We are going to make it tonight our stepping stone. Because had I not done that, you guys, I'm telling you what, I would have been stuck in that same place. And then another thing I had to do, I had to reverse the curse. Type it in the chat. Reverse the curse. And we're not talking about no curse or hex that was put on by anyone else. By our own tongue. By our own mouth. We have to reverse that curse. You got to reverse that curse. Okay? Because if you don't reverse the curse, that sword from your mouth that went out and kept saying the same thing over and over, you thought it, you said it, it became part of what was going to manifest. So I had to say, sorry, Lord, forgive me for saying that when my grandmother passed, that something going to happen to me. Because my grandmother wanted us to live. Our loved ones, believe it or not, when it is their time, even when it's hard to say, when it's traumatic, when it's been quick, Even when we know they want us to live. They do not want us here ailing and in grief, because they will be the same people we will call, right? If there was something major going on in our lives, and they will give us that pep talk. Hey girl, pick yourself up, get in the shower, put on some clothes, put on some makeup. Ninth thing, when you have those times, I'm going to say fake it till you make it. Yes, I am. Fake it till you make it. Meaning that, but you see how far down the line it was. It was after you sought help. It was after you identified your triggers. It was after you got loved ones involved. It was after you picked yourself up. And it is now that you're saying, you know what, even though I don't feel good, I'm going to do my hair. I'm going to put on some makeup. I'm going to put on an outfit. I'm going to do all those things to make sure that I activate on the outside a manifestation of what I am trying to achieve on the inside. Now that is backwards, because you want the inside to radiate the outside. But sometimes when there are certain lows in our life based on the situation, based on the trigger, based on the trauma, it can radiate to the outside. So sometimes you got to get that outside so that when you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, there you are. You don't have that, slump face. You don't have the down, depressed spirit. You put on the makeup, you put on some clothes, and you begin to say, wow, look at me. Wow, I am beautiful. I am great. I am special. I can overcome this trauma. I can overcome this issue. I can overcome this barrier that is trying to hold me back. I do know that depression and anxiety can hold us back. Now, timing, once again, as we were talking about a little bit of Ecclesiastes 3, which is talking about timing and everything, there are times and seasons to this, right? And so when you find yourself that, you feel like every time you try to do something, you're like, oh, something weighs you down and there's a burden, you definitely can know that after so long, you will get the fire, you will get the vigor, you will get the stamina, you will get the strength and the courage, because you sought out those people, those professional counselors, those therapists, psychiatrists. You have sought out loved ones and family. You have taken time to read and journal. You've taken time, even sometimes, to rest. Okay? Sometimes you have to talk to your jobs, and if you have FMLA, you need to take mental health day. There are some times where our schedules are so overloaded. Oftentimes it's our own fault that we overloaded it. But in that time, taking the breaks and taking a mental health day to get it, to just get recentered. So it's amazing that as a registered nurse and being in mental health, I always had a compassion to help others by my profession. Always had a passion. Mental health, having that segment in nursing was eye-opening, because oftentimes most of the people in the mental health institutions are normal. They are fine. It's like having a medical problem. That's why I bring an awareness tonight that we have to get to where there is more action, more assistance, more help with mental health issues. There is no reason that police are being called for mental health issues. We need social workers in the field. We need therapists in the field. We need nurses in the field, because we could have the medication that may help that one that the cops are trying to tackle down. We have the medication just to sedate them, to calm them down, to bring them back center. Then we're able to definitely get them back under control, talk with them, get some therapy, get in their heads and minds of what's triggering them, make sure their medications are right in their body. We do not need police for mental health calls, because their training, I know, is minimal to handle it. And they immediately get oftentimes defensive. And here is someone who has been killed because an officer did not know how to handle a mental health crisis or situation. There needs to be more reform. Yep, there needs to be more reform. So as I talk on my podcast here, in these next months, I will always be attributing to how we can identify with children. As we identified a 30-year-old, someone did say after the fact that, oh my God, she didn't sound like herself. Oh my God, we have, young men hanging themselves. Suicide is on an all-time high right now. So how do we recognize it and know? Get close with your loved one. Know when they are not okay. Maybe they didn't take a shower for a few days. Sometimes you can have panic. What is it called? Like panic. And so panic is like real hyper, real jiggy. So maybe they weren't sad, but sometimes it's hyper activity. So they're really, really hyper. They've been really, really sad, and it changes. Get help. Talk to them. Hey, what you thinking? What's going on? So when I talk about kids, and that is my love and passion with family, oftentimes a kid is not their normal self. Maybe body language is off, or they may be, a little more attitudinal, a little short-tempered, not listening as well, not as focused. That's a time where we say, hey, how are you? What's going on? You having an okay day? You need a hug? You need a time away? Especially as a cheer coach, especially as running my dance school. And any interaction that I have with kids, I typically can tell when they are off. One, let's give an example. Very dedicated. So you have one, you have one student, or let's say team member that is always dedicated. And then all of a sudden you're having a session or a practice and they just can't seem to, get it together, put their stuff down, leave out, come around, come here. And you're like, wait, you're normally in line. What's going on? You realize that, no, something's going on. That's why I say it's an anointing. It is definitely an anointing. It is not something that is all the time normal. So it is, I discern it. I sense it. And I know that, something's off. Give them a big hug, and guess what? The tears begin to roll. Because you guys, you have to realize, we have schedules, adults. Kids get overwhelmed with their schedules too. And sometimes, we as parents are piling it on. So you have two types. You have that parent that wants to schedule, make the schedule for the kids depending on the age. So they have school, after school they have piano. Then they got basketball practice, football practice, right? Gymnastics, all of these commitments, okay? We have to understand that we also have to help them make a balance and help manage those schedules. Okay, because otherwise they're going to get very overwhelmed too. And so you wonder why you're saying, let's go, get your bag, pack up, let's do this, let's do that. And nothing's happening because they're burned out. They're burned out, you guys. So once again, how are you doing? How are you? It's time to for real, say it, mean it. And then a lot of times when we have kids overloaded, they go into the scrolling on that phone. Too much screen time. We really do not recommend more than 2 to 3 hours of screen time for a healthy brain. No, it's too much. So we're even going to have to change a lot of how we're doing school and virtual, how many hours are on there for a healthy brain development. Because that's where the brain is not as healthy, so it gets out of balance, and then we're all over the place, right? So we want to make sure that kids that you're identifying, every kid that maybe not turning in homework, they're probably stressed out. It's not that they're lazy. It's not that they can't do it oftentimes. Have you talked to them? Have you asked them first? What's going on? How are you? We need to get the counselors a little more active. It's more than sending them college information. Because they're not going to go and think about nothing with college if they're stressed, if they are anxious, if they feel hopeless, none of that. So when we are doing our mental health checks, make sure we check on our kids, balance those schedules better. Do not oversaturate their schedules. Do something where they can handle it and manage it and still have an hour or two of their video game or that movie or time with their friends. like we have to. So that we're on the kids, adults as well. I have just in the past few years finally got to where, take a moment and enjoy. Just enjoy without ideating, without thinking of the next move, without thinking of the next business plan, without following up on the email, without posting on, my story or the band app or whatever that is, and do nothing. How many out there have felt like that? Like, you can't do nothing. Oh my God. Hey, Teron. Like, you feel like, oh my goodness, I have a hard time just doing nothing. Okay? I've been guilty. But I have gotten so much better to where when my schedule got steady again or productive again, it was like, whoa, I had to get used to it because I was so used to going. When I slowed down, it was like, was something wrong? Chantaya, you're not doing something. You don't have 10 things on your schedule. Now I have learned to balance, reset and balance those schedules. And we can't get mad at anyone else. I start laughing because, you start having those comments like, ooh, I can't wait till that's over. Ooh, I committed to that. Well, you got to pray over that schedule. You got to ask God, is this my purpose and my God divine assignment today? And when it is, you want to give it all you got as unto the Lord because no one said yes but you. Okay? So that you're the only one that said yes, you got to be the one to get that excitement, get that vigor, get that rigor of what you put out into the earth, which was, I want this platform, I want this assignment. They saw your gift, they saw your talents, they saw your joy, they saw your smile, they saw your determination, they saw your grit, and they wanted you. You are the woman for the job. You are the man for the job. They're like, come. So once you book the schedule, book the meeting, book the assignment, book it with the intention of doing your 100% best. To where people got to say, who she think or who he think he is. Yep, I am God's chosen. I am on assignment and I do everything unto the Lord. Put that in the chat. I am on assignment for the Lord and I am giving it all I have. Okay? So yes, when they call for you, keep the schedule. Of course, if for some reason something happens and you are unable to, take it off your plate because you never want to walk in with this thing in the back of your mind like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Oh my God, what I got to do now? Because it shows you will not be as effective. It will not come over as well. So still on mental health, just saying balance those schedules, help children balance them. In our summer camps at Cara, we make sure that we are checking on those kids every day. That same kid yesterday that's laughing and smiling, maybe today when a kid hits them with the ball or rolls it over, they not as happy today. And it's okay. We as educators, leaders, camp directors, we got to know that it's okay because like I tell my cheerleaders, like I tell dance babies, we are not always going to want to be bothered, right? Talk to everybody, smile all the time, laugh all the time. It's just some of those days. So how do we redirect that energy is key. That is how we do at our camps. We redirect the energy, talk to them, acknowledge the fact that, yes, you're having a rough day. How can we handle it better? Maybe at that time, if it's a group game, you have them steal away in color. Maybe you have them take a moment and write their feelings. Maybe you have them go, they got the Pop-Its now. Do something that can connect with their brain and mind to de-stress. Stress balls. Okay, Pop-Its. So you're just making sure that everything's okay. I find that some institutions, all they're doing is, go to the office, right? Go do this. You can't do this. It's always no, punitive. No. Get inside their head. Get to know them. Hey, what's going on? If you know they were ill, how you feeling? Oh, I know you just got over sickness. Is this some of the reason why you're acting like this, right? We have to get inside the head of our kids. That is why we are losing them. We are not getting connected and knowing them. Oh, so some things I do. Oh man, so I know you just drew that picture yesterday. Oh, I know yesterday you were enjoying this game. What's different about today? And they may tell me, well, I wasn't first and I wanted to get in line, right? So you're like, okay, all right. So you didn't get first in line this time, but let's make sure that Sally knows that that's why you're a little upset. So hey guys, let's take a pause. Let's let Tina get in the front of the line because she's having a rough day and just feel left out today. Can we help her feel better? So look how quickly that changed from that person like she got an attitude, this little kid all the time, and take it in a negative. No. I don't want my kids or no institutions like that. We need leaders like me, like our counselors, like our staff that will get into the heads and minds of our children, love them, encourage them, reset them, re-engage them, and have alternatives when they are having a rough day. Bottom line, we will get so much further with new implementations and changes with mental health to help our children. So by the way, there's the plug. We had it right now. That's my commercial. CarAcademy.org. You can go there, sign your kids up for our summer camp. If you will be in the Midwest region, Florissant, Hazelwood area, serving the city of St. Louis, that you get your kids plugged in. Because in our mental health checks, as much as we come on for our segment tonight on how are you doing, how are you, we got to get vulnerable and say when we are not okay. Not be embarrassed when we are not okay. Because we can get and tap into our kids' head, but sometimes us adults, we don't get vulnerable. Be okay. We have to also, as society, make sure that people quit laughing about it. Because you can think you have everything going on today, and we are one step away always from homeless, being without. If pandemic didn't show us how one step away that things can be, when jobs cut out, how one step away we can be, if funding for different programs that numerous of us that are in industries of healthcare, food programs, health institutions, hospitals for that matter, funding get cut, guess what? One step away. So we have to let our pride, our egos go. We have to bring compassion, love, expertise, help, vulnerability to help families, to help children. We are in a different place. Even this season for me with the cheer girls and families, typically you miss practice, right? You can't cheer, you can't play a game. But with this pandemic, that same young lady could have had COVID or her whole family just got wiped out. No time for typical rules. Now what I do is make sure you remember what the standards are. You make sure that responsibilities and what they are. So maybe they sit out a half hour. Really, I haven't even done that this year, honestly, y'all. Because once it hits your house and once things happen for you, loved ones passing, kids sick, kids unable to ever get back to the things they love, you change. And if you all are now here changing with the times and helping our kids with this mental health thing and helping them to readapt, shame on you. Seriously. And it's time for us to not pity ourselves, not hang our head low, but when the shame comes that we have not been that for them, that we figure out a way to be that for them. Get out, Ozzy. So yeah, my dog, yeah. So when you know that you are a leader and you have kids, you serve adults, you serve disabled, any of those matters, that you come with a different compassion and a different standard right now, honestly, y'all. You don't know what these families are going through. And back to vulnerability, everyone won't say it. Everybody won't talk about it. So meaning that when they don't, you then have to have a discernment in your heart to know it may be something more that's at home that they haven't shared. Maybe they did just lose a grandma. And I know when COVID first came out, I'll be honest, it was like scary. It was like literally when I knew people had it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, it was like leprosy. Literally, it was like, whoa, I didn't know how to act and how to be when I got back around, my loved ones or family or friends, because we didn't know much about it, right? And I'm an RN, right? And I've seen it all, I've been through it all, cared for the most sickest patients with my background in intensive care unit. And I'm like, whoa, oh my goodness. It still feels like a plague, but definitely it felt like it was a hard time wanting to get back around the people because I didn't know the contagiousness of it, which it is very contagious. So saying that to say, if you're leading, coaching, managing camps, dance schools, whatever that is, you got to reset some guidelines and expectations, because as much as people are still trying to go, I know if you're feeling as much as we're still trying to go, there is still some things in the back of our head, like, whoa, it's just a heaviness, right? That's the best way I can say it. It's a heaviness. You're going, but it's like, whew, you're still kind of worried, a little anxious, all those things. So I said a lot, and we're wrapping up this session with mental health. How are you? And I know people say, I'm blessed and highly favored. And we say, blessed of the Lord, I'm good, wonderful, amen. And that is the will for our life. So I'm going to share this scripture, what I started with, and then we're going to be done for the night. Thank you for joining the podcast tonight, or when you watch it on the replay. Thank you for sharing it. I hope you gleaned some amazing things from it, because I want us to be healthy, that we walk in a healthy place, recognizing when we have those struggles, we feel like we're off, less patient, flaring up, upset, angry, that we recenter. Think things through. Pray. Pause. Still away if you have to, when you're able to. And you be the thermostat in the room and not the thermometer. Thermometer gets the temperature, whatever the room is set. You set the temperature and the tone. And as we reminded you, get help. Call the hotline. Okay? And make sure you tell loved ones and be so vulnerable, because the word reminds us tonight. Ooh, it's so good. I was just reading through and flipped this open, you guys. And as I told you in the beginning, it talks about the time. A time for everything is the subtopic or topic, I do apologize, for this chapter. So chapter 3, verse 11. We're going to read it and we're going to go out. Thanks for joining. Hope this blessed you tonight. Helped you. I'm trying to come with practical. That is my motto. Practical teaching. All right. He has made everything beautiful, you guys. I know everything don't look beautiful. I know right now, wow, really, Lord? But yes, he has made everything beautiful in its time. Once again, back to, if you read Ecclesiastes 3, first 7 verses, really 8 verses, you're going to see time to be born, time to die, time to plant, time to uproot, time to kill, time to heal, time to tear down, time to build, time to weep, time to laugh, time to mourn, time to dance, time to scatter stones, a time to gather them, time to embrace, that's what we're in now, time to refrain. Yeah. Okay. But what he's saying is that there is a time in everything. And in that, he made it beautiful. Type it in the chat. He made it beautiful. It's not what we see. It's not what we feel. It's not what it looked like. And all of it, he made it beautiful, and it's in his time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men. That's what we're striving for, to live again, to be with him. How I handle myself on earth. How am I handling my stress? How am I doing that? I do believe that we are taking matters into our own hands when we do commit suicide. That's another topic of how that can be considered in the mind of Christ and in the mind of God and in judgment time. Of course, though, but our own testimony and our own judgment comes from the Father. But remember that you do not have control over life and death, whether that is to someone else or yourself. It's serious. You have now taken matters into your own hand and we're acting like God. And that's where you begin to tear down those barriers and, Tower of Babel and pulling it down because people were trying to be God. So I do pray for souls that have gone on from suicide because there is an unrest. There is an unrest. So, this next one. So, let's go back to, he has also set eternity into the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom. We can't even fathom how beautiful things are when we let our life play out, when we go on the journey, whether it's highs or lows, being content whether we find ourselves with a lot, being content whether we find ourselves with little, back to the mental health thing, because sometimes everything is triggered by what we have, what we don't have. Hey guys, right now, be glad you have life. Be glad that you're hearing this or seeing this, that you have breath. Being grateful that you have opportunities and that you have breath means there is hope for you. There's ability and capability for you. And that some of our temporary setbacks are only but for a moment. Only for a moment. They will pass. It will go away because God reminds us there's a time and season for everything. Knowing that time, knowing that season, knowing that it is still a beautiful thing as we continue to set our eyes on things above and reaching towards heaven. This still mental health check, y'all. Woo. I know that there's nothing better for men than to be happy. He wants us to be happy and do good while we live. Type it in the chat. Be happy and do good while we live. That is our goal, right? Everyone wants to be happy. What is your happy place? And if for some reason things that are happening are not making you happy, that's why we got to tap into the joy of the Lord that gives us strength, and keep walking in joy until you can truly feel happy. But if you go back to the podcast or rewind this live, then you begin to look at all the points and the key points to help you be happy, to choose happiness, to stay joyful, even when the thermometer in the room is sad, it's low, it's getting hot, it's getting where I can't handle it, I can't take it, I want to throw in the towel, I become God, I get a plan to kill myself, or whatever that is, that we are rebuking that tonight, today, tomorrow. When you hear this, we rebuke it. You have not done anything so wrong. There is nothing too hard for you. This too will pass. If you hang in there, you will see it on the other side. Your life is precious. Your life is whole. Your life is for purpose. Your life is an amazing journey designed just for you. This life, that just blessed me right there. This life and journey is designed just for you. You were that special and that chosen that your life is designed just for you. So how you want it to look? How you want it to look? Get that picture. Get the vision board. Get the manifestation board. A lot of us stay stuck in the vision board. But once you get the vision board, get another one that say how I'm going to get there to manifest it. We're still on mental health because these things help you feel better. These things make you want to have a goal and an end to it. All right, so let's finish this scripture. So let's read that one more time because that was good, right? Ecclesiastes 3, verse 12. I know that there is nothing better. This is so good for men than to be happy and do good while we live. So you are like most of us. We just want to be happy. Yeah. It was the song they sang. This is my podcast, y'all. Y'all, my podcast homework. That song, I just want to be happy. I know all the words. I just want to be happy. I know the tagline. Hey, okay. So say it. Sometimes you got to put it on your mirror. You got to paste it in your room. You got to put it in your car. You have to put that song on that keeps your spirit uplifted, to remember joy, to remember happy, even when that thermometer around you is not. When it is not, You have to be the thermostat to set it. Trust me, people don't always like when I'm hee ha ha. It's okay. I learned to love who I am and how he made me. It ain't gonna change. Because when you finally understand who you are, maybe you're quiet and don't do all that. But however you are, get cool with it. That's when you truly can let your purpose hang out. You know, people say, let it all hang out. Once you really know you and be comfortable with you, when they hang out, even when people have, something to say, or, you have to defend yourself sometimes, it's okay. Because you know what? Like, hey, when you come at me, you coming at God. So it's okay. Because this is how he made me. And he made me for purpose. This is who I am. Accept it. Leave it. Oh my God. Mental health check. Being around people with peace and love. Because if you stay around people that always are negative and without peace, it's going to somehow rub off on you. Yep. So, okay, let's finish the scripture. We're done for the night, but I hope you go back and get some of these nuggets. Share with that loved one that you know that is struggling. Share with that youth, that sometimes where they are, the teachers, the administrators, the leaders don't know how to tap into, how to open up that space inside of them. Let them know how you feel, that you love them, that they're important, that you care, that you're there for them. Listen, tap into something you know about them. Ask them something. Even in the midst of that grumbling and that mean look, I've learned how to break through barriers with kids. They'll be looking mean and attitude. No, once you ask them, hey, what's going on? You move me to the back of the line and not the front of the line, right? So it'll be all these things, especially with coaching and dance. Like, you're like, okay, all right. You're going to get a turn or you're going to be next, and it's how we say it. But it gives them hope. Like, you are great. You're doing good. But we're going to give someone else that chance, right? So I'm just saying, you guys, there are ways to address our babies. There are ways to address our youth. There are ways to address each other and have compassion and love for one another unapologetically. And being there when we say or you say, hey, it's rough. It's rough. And that you tell the people that. And sometimes when you get that vulnerable, y'all, let me put a little comment right there. You don't really care. Because a lot of times when we go through depressions, we go through mental health matters, it is not even ours to own. Don't own it. Don't own it. Never own any phase of your mental health. Now, Anonymous and all these other programs may tell you something different because they keep having you say, I am this, I am this, I am this. I do not agree with the way that they keep having you affirm what you are. Because after so long, once you know who you are and what your habit, problem, or mental health thing that is weighing you down, you then have to reverse it. As I told you to get it, I had to reverse the whole thing about what I said when my grandmother passed so that I could then walk into life, walk into healing, walk into my purpose. Not keep letting depression or sadness get me down, okay? So I'm saying that to say you cannot keep rehearsing that same thing. You have to change it. You have to, post it, draw it, whatever that is, to attract it inside of you so that it can become you. All right. So, okay, let's go out with this last verse. This is also what God wants for us in Ecclesiastes 3, and this is 13, that everyone may eat and drink, kind of like saying everybody eat, drink, and be merry, right? Eat and drink and find satisfaction in all his toil. So everything I got to go through, everything I got to work for, sometimes, hard days, sometimes rough days, that we find some satisfaction. That's what he wants for us, y'all. He don't want everything to be burdensome all the time. He wants you to go take that vacation. He wants you to just enjoy sitting on the couch and watching a movie, just sitting and talking with your kids, just having fun with your friends. He wants that, to find satisfaction in all his toil. This is the gift of God. This is what he wants. This is what he has for us, you guys. Yes. It's real. It's real. I know that everything God does, it will endure forever. It will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken away from it. Basically saying, What God promised and what God's word is saying for your life and your family and the desires of your heart, no one can do anything about it. It cannot be added. It ain't going to be no more than what he desires for you. And it won't be no less. But how many know that God has the best plans laid out for your life? They are so good. They are so good. They are so good. So I'll close out with this testimony, and then we're going to do a quick prayer. And, follow me on my podcast. This is new, y'all. So what you try new? Okay, this is the last few things. I did a commercial tonight about summer camps. All right, at Cara. Woo, woo. Because we at Cara, we take a moment and make sure we are mentally, we have mental health check-ins with our kids, especially when we're identifying change of behavior as we meet them and get to know them throughout their camps. First plug. Second plug, follow us on Moments with Chantaya King on YouTube channel. Subscribe. I need 50 subscribers so that I can go live on my new YouTube channel. When we get off here, jump on there, find me, Moments with Chantaya King on YouTube. Hit subscribe, okay? Because I'm starting to be switching my platform to YouTube, okay? All right, that's second plug. Third plug, I forgot. No, third plug outside of that is make sure that you follow us on all the Facebook, Instagram, all of those platforms, because we will be making sure that we bring you good content, making sure that it's relevant for you, and that you take away something very positive, good nuggets to sustain every day. Thus, Moments with Chantaya King. All right, so last verse, and we're going out. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added and nothing taken from it. God does it so that men will revere him. All of these matters is just to honor him. Just to honor him, you guys. There are so many testimonies that came out of that season where there was heavy depression, heavy paranoia, heavy mistrust. So much came out of that, you guys. Like in that time where I may have had one building, 2 buildings came out of that. Where at one time, right, mind you, I had people that loved me, forgave me, walked in forgiveness. You have where you didn't have the, wit, not really the wit, the gusto to really do things. When you get depressed, oh my God, you kind of doing stuff, kind of not, had injury. Oh my God, it's so much. Woo. Yeah, we're gonna stay on this for a while because it was a lot. But saying all that to say, it's all to honor him. It's not, God, he being mean to us and he just bringing all this calamity on us. No, he just wants us to honor him. And what the devil wants on the opposite side is to do things to try to distract us from what God is doing in us to keep honoring him. Satan don't want your house, your husband, your children, your car, your computer, those things that you start associating with that make you who you are. No. He wants you. He wants your mind. He wants your energy, your body to worship negative and Satan. He could care less about the stuff. God, as he told us, wants us to have life, peace, even in Ecclesiastes 3, the latter verses I read, enjoying. The things that you like to do to enjoy, right? So, oh my God, how are you doing? How are you? We are hoping that you are well, that you are thriving, that you are happy. And just in case you're not, we had tools in this podcast today to help you get help, pull out the hole, push into happiness, push into manifestation of joy so that you can be the thermostat in the room to make it happen. All right, until next time, I'll see you. Moments with Chantaya King. Good night.